Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We have Charles Ross on with us today. I'm so excited. And I'm looking forward to what we're going to discuss. I'm going to let you just launch right into it. I don't need to give you a big formal introduction because you've been on before. And um, if people don't know who Charles is, I'm going to put a little description in the description. So please please start and let us know what you are going to talk about today.
Yes, hello. So f for me in Taiwan, it is now February the 16th. It's actually Monday morning. And for you, it's evening, is that right? Yeah,
Yeah,
nighttime.
it's 8:15 in the evening. Yep. In Florida. Yep.
8:15. Okay.
Yes.
Florida. Okay. Yeah, so I have been studying alternative history for about, I would say, about 4 years. And I've been creating content for about maybe 2.5 years. For me, it all started with discovering architecture that was very obviously European, that had very obviously Roman and Byzantine symbolism, and discovering this architecture in East Asia, in a country called the Republic of China. I have traveled extensively throughout Asia, not just China and Taiwan, but also uh, other Asian and African countries. And I've always sort of taken photos of architecture simply because I felt drawn to it.
Yes.
And I realize now that actually architecture is very important because it is not about what's housed within the buildings. It is what's shown on the buildings. Because the purpose of a building can change every few years. There are post offices that used to be temples. There are banks that used to be bakeries. The actual purpose of the building can change. Some of the most beautiful palaces that I've seen in Taiwan, for example, have been converted into insane asylums. And I've seen that
Uh,
also in the United States. I've seen that
yeah.
in Britain. I lived in England for about 20 years, Germany 10 years. So my background is very sort of like European ancient city architecture. Unfortunately, there's so much miseducation now that when you walk around a city in the United States, for example, you are being told everything is either revival or rococo or all of these new architectural terms that just simply have been designed for no other reason than to misinform you and make you think of something ancient like a cathedral in New York City. And there are ancient cathedrals in New York City that have architecture and geometry that could only have existed in the 11th or maybe 12th century. And there are victory arches just like there are in Rome, but it's a much larger scale. New York is a much larger scale. So then I reversed language and I started to study Paleo Hebrew, which just seemed like quite a strange next step. But language is all about symbolism, and if symbolism was the original language, and then we were given thousands of languages, and we were then confused. Yeah. So we started to babble, and you have that in the Bible, the Tower of Babel, where everyone's building something together. They're achieving
Right.
great heights together. They are ascending. Is the Tower of Babel a real structure, or is it more the concept of ascending or going up in frequency? And I think it's
Mhm.
about going up in frequency. And then the evil
Mhm.
person came, the Dark Lord or Satan or Lucifer, who we've kind of inverted to be light bringer, which is probably what he was before he fell, because even angels can fall. And in the
Mhm.
Bible, it's really interesting to draw parallels between angels falling from heaven and humans becoming less sort of holy and losing their own sort of self-respect. And I think that's when you start to destroy yourself. You get into a cycle, like an Ouroboros snake eating itself. So I've seen all of these symbols in Taiwan, even though I'm literally in Taiwan and there's no history that allows for a Roman Empire. And I do find it fascinating when you realize that the further you go back, the less languages there are. The further you go back in China, the less gods there are. If you go back
Right.
far enough, there's only one God. They have one
Mm.
god, Fushi, I think they call him. Fushi is the creator of this large mountain, and they put this large mountain on top of their houses. And then you start to
Mm.
think, wait, hang on a minute, is that Rupes Nigra? Is that the more Frau Moro's map of the 1500s, where there's this mountain in the middle and these four sections, and then you realize that actually ancient symbolism is exactly the same as modern day logos that we have on our, laptops, iPads, drinks, soft drinks. Can you see what I mean? So suddenly you
Yes.
realize that it's the time was the illusion that was making it hard for us, but really everything is happening at the same time. So maybe the past is actually a prophecy for the future. Maybe we aren't in a cycle. Maybe that's just the brainwashing. But if we don't start with a circle that we're safe in, right? Like a ball flying through space. If we don't start with this sort of like compass where there is no way out, then we don't feel
Mm.
safe. So maybe this
Mm.
is a good first step. And then later on, you realize there's a lot of these. And we're actually on a hexagon connected to other hexagons. And the whole realm was made out of hexagons. Can you see what I mean? So,
Wow. That's
I'm trying to
interesting.
combine nature. Yeah, I'm trying to combine nature with our human body and the architecture we've created. Because I don't think we
Yeah.
created it, really, at the end of the day. I don't think
Yeah.
humans were capable of building it with hammers and chisels, because
Mhm.
I mean, it's only up until the 1800s that we've had electromagnetic knowledge and machinery and industrial revolution. So
Mm.
I think these are angels, demons that came down, and I think Solomon is one of the greatest examples of a king who could harness that power.
Mm.
Have you heard of the Lesser Keys of Solomon? Have you heard
Yes.
of that? The
Yes, I have.
Keys of Solomon? Yeah. So
Yes.
so there is a story that many people prescribe to and believe to be true, that there were 72 keys of Solomon. I think there were more than that. There's always more. If they tell
Mm.
you there's so many elements on the periodic table, there's always more. They're always hiding something, you know. And it's the same with the keys of Solomon. They're hiding a lot. So I think there was more than 70.
Mm.
I think there's probably more than 80. And anyway, these
Mm.
demonic entities were able to manifest and create and build ancient structures in America, modern day Indonesia. I think Borobudur in Indonesia is a perfect cymatic collection of geometry that was formed out of the ground, perfectly cut out of the bedrock. You see
Mm.
this with Hampi
Right.
chariots in India. These are
What about
perfect
this?
ancient temples cut out of rock. And yeah,
What about the star forts? Did they do that too? Or who do you think built the star forts?
yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why we've separated star forts from ancient temples. Like, who decided that star
Yeah.
forts were to defend against gunpowder
Right.
or field
Right.
guns, cannons? Someone made that decision. But if you look at a Japanese feudal shogunate, a castle surrounded by
Hmm.
water with these sharp edges, it's exactly the
Yeah.
same thing. And that's
And they're all over the
1500s, I
place.
think. Yeah,
They're
and
all
you've
over the
got
world. Yeah.
they're all over the world. I mean, you can go to China, you'll find one. In Taiwan, there are three that I've seen, Star Forts. Some of them are very big and they almost look like they were cut out of as I said earlier, the natural rock formations like volcanic rock or coral. Yeah, I mean, but it's not just the star fort, it's what's underneath that's really important.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
almost always a pyramid. It's almost always a structure that is much bigger underneath.
Right.
And every time I see excavation or anyone fixing an old building, there's always subsequent, windows and floors. Yeah, yeah,
Levels underneath. Yeah. Right.
yeah. I mean, you can do this research in your town because if there's a town or a city that's big enough, it's probably ancient and people PG lines or something, you know.
It's so true because, like,
Yeah.
my little hometown that I came from in Pennsylvania is a tiny little town called Beaver Falls. But I did research and I noticed that they had those same windows that were buried. and all of the really old castle
Yeah.
looking churches, and there were castle looking
Hmm.
churches there. So I was like, this is such a tiny
Yeah.
town, but yet there's still things like that. And I live in Sarasota now, which isn't a huge city. It's like more of a smaller city in Florida, and their courthouse has a basement in Florida. There's no basements in Florida. We don't build those.
Yeah.
So it's so bizarre. So I looked down into it, and there was like a parking garage down there. It was very odd. And there were steps going down. I've noticed that in St. Pete. There was a few buildings there
Yeah.
that were like that. So there definitely were cities here before we were here, for sure.
Yeah.
And there are levels underneath,
And
even in Florida, even in a place that's right
mm,
near the ocean.
it's interesting when you look at population figures. I don't know if you have, but if you go back to like the 1800s, population figures are like 900 people, maybe
Right,
2000 at the most, and that's like big cities like Winnipeg and as you said, Minnesota and St. Louis. These are big cities between like the
yeah,
18th. You see the fake, you can tell that there's something wrong with the
right,
original. It must be fake because literally 10 years later, there's no construction happening and there's a city,
right,
hundreds of things. It's built for like 1 million people, and
right,
the figures on Google are still hold on, 2000. Then there was a gold rush, and suddenly there's 80,000 people. But even 80,000, that
yeah,
doesn't make sense. There's churches, there's spires all over the
right,
place. Nothing's being built. There's no horse-drawn materials being, and it just happens almost with a picture that might have been faked for the original history, and then suddenly you've got this massive city with sprawling suburbs and a port and all kinds of things, and no construction,
right.
no photos of any construction at any point in time. And back then, it must have taken more time to build things because you only had like a chisel, hammers. What did you have? Like horse-drawn carriages, even to get the materials into some of these seaside towns. And then there's Italian marble in the central town hall, or there's
Right,
a domed Senate building, and
right.
it's got all these like geometrical steps going up, these Roman numerals like 42, 36,
Yes.
because the Romans were very much connected with the Greeks, and the Greeks got all of their gods and ideas from India. And if you look at the Indian gods like Buddha and Hercules, the same person, then you look at the Indian gods. And I've only just started comparing Indian gods to Egyptian gods, and they're basically just copy pasting the gods, from Egypt.
Yeah,
So
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
if you look through the religious evolution of religion, yeah,
Hmm.
you can start to realize that there's something, yeah,
Oh,
there's a
absolutely.
strong connection. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah, who were the
definitely.
Greeks? I mean, it's anyone's guess, were the Greeks actually from Greece or did they travel from other larger continents? Because I feel the larger continents had people first.
Right. I was
Yeah,
wondering
I don't
what
think
year.
Europe was civilized until the 7th century either. Yeah.
Right.
So there's no record of water irrigation before then. Yeah.
And then we had so many resets too. But when do you believe that Tartaria actually started? When did it actually initiate and
Oh,
become Tartaria?
well, I think as far as Europe is concerned, as I said, the 7th century seems to be when suddenly there's these people with great knowledge came, these Tartarians.
Okay.
Now, I think China already had there are the ancient Tartarian hieroglyphs that were found. Um, and I think those sigils were like 2000 like 2000 AD, sorry,
Okay.
2000 BC. And then you have this great awakening in China around the Qing dynasty, which is sort of around maybe the second or third century, and that's when when China or the Tartarians ruled the world with their
Okay.
large treasure ships that you have. You have wrecks
So
of
it's
these
very
all over the
gradual.
world, right? So I think so. I think that. what we call Tartar was black soil people. So these were black swarthy people. So up until the 1600s, I don't know if it was called Tartaria. I think it might have been just called Tartar or Mu. Um, I think the area part. I don't know if there's any maps before the 1500s, but Tartaria would then be a mix of white Cau Caucasian, Caucasus Mountain, Asian people, and the black Moorish people. So when they combine, that's when you have this great technology suddenly occur. Like it probably started with Peking, Beijing today, which was also called Tartar City. So those old maps are very important. I have a lot of old maps that I can show you that have it actually as Tartar City. And there's water magic platforms. They had the first compasses, the first the money counting abacuses. They invented all of that came from China. Then you have the zodiac wheel. You have the uh, what we now call Persian, but actually came from China, which is this the very early compass, like where you can judge the size. Like they knew the size of the realm, the width, the breadth of the realm. They were using the astrolabe, which is like very thinly cut metal, and all these
Yeah,
different compartments slide on top of each other to measure
I have
exactly
them.
where you are just by looking at the sun. And
Yeah, I
I
really
don't
believe
have one, but
in
I wish I did have one. Yeah,
yeah, that's
so
super cool.
they went everywhere. They already kind of discovered the whole realm. They built their city as a map of the world, so you can compare the city. People even use that map now as a logo, the geometry of the map as a logo. Yeah, so it's if you combine all of those types of technology from mathematics to the compass to the astrolabe, all of that is you can combine all of that and you can trace that all back to the larger ones in Peking.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, at the Boxer Rebellion, when the British came, that was all kind of destroyed and taken to different museums throughout Europe. But there's still images of it. There's still images of the original uh, city. Well, there's not photos, but there's sketches and diagrams of it. Yeah. And they actually
Yeah.
built those all over their colonies. So when you go to Chinatown, you're actually going to a colony of the Tartarian Empire where they started building their temples and religion. So I think the whole concept of colonizing came from this empire too. Yeah.
Right.
We call it China today, and I think the word China came from the bone china that was produced in East Asia. Yeah,
Right.
using like animal bones, sometimes
Oh, okay.
human bones too, I think, to make the perfect, you know, again, dishes and things.
Right.
I have done
Interesting.
quite a lot of research. Maybe I could share some images because it is an oversimplification of the Tartar and the Aryan esoteric sort of ancient religious knowledge. But so this is only the early kind of version. This is not going to be accurate. And there are things missing, like the elements are missing. There's some elements that I can also match into these. Now, what's fascinating about this, and what I haven't spoken to anyone about until I've prepared for this chat with you, is that if you were born in, let's say you were born in January,
Yes,
because
I
we are all
was.
taken out of the womb around, yeah, we are all taken out of the womb around after 9 months, right?
Yes.
So I think there is an argument to be made that we shouldn't be removed from the womb until we have hit at least the 10th or maybe 11th month. Um,
Interesting.
because if we are taken out of the womb earlier, yeah, around 9 months, we actually potentially are missing the elements of the following months until the end of the
Mhm.
cycle.
Interesting.
Now, okay, what this means, according to Chinese medicine. And I
Huh.
don't think anyone looks into Chinese medicine. I think it's too hard because learning Chinese is virtually impossible unless you're probably living there. I don't know. But I think it's really hard to understand the real Chinese. And I'm talking here about traditional Chinese, not the abbreviated Chinese that people and children learn in China now. So,
Ah, okay.
so according to that, every year has an animal, and if you match the years, you get the same thing happening throughout the year of the ox, or the year of the snake, or the year of the dragon, which is another fascinating thing. Because back when this was constructed, probably around the maybe 12th century, dragons were still very much part of the wildlife in China. So they would be flying and swimming and throughout China. Now they're very rare in China. It's not often that someone posts a video, but there are videos of dragons swimming in the rivers, dragons flying even. Now the unfortunate thing is, as everyone gets a mobile phone, you should be able to see more of this footage because slowly in China everyone has their own phone now.
Mm.
Even rural areas where some of these
Yeah.
mythical creatures like dragons and griffins have gone to hide, but the unfortunate issue now is that they've given us AI, and now everything can be disputed as being AI. Can you see the
Right.
reason why AI would have been given to us, whereas they've been using it to
Yeah.
make animated movies for decades, right?
Yeah.
Pretending that somehow drew 3D models, which is a lie, just using AI. And there's a lot of movies where you know that these are AI videos.
Yeah.
They didn't draw a 3D model and do the hard work that they should do in Hollywood, like they did with the anime in Japan, where they were drawing every single screen. So
Right.
you know AI has been around a long time, but now they have to give it to us because as people in rural China are starting to get their own phones, they're posting pretty high resolution videos of dragons all over the place. Not just dragons. I'm talking about
Yes.
fays. I'm talking about like everything, like feathered serpents.
I've actually seen the ones of the dragons and they're very realistic. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have never, yeah, they're
But
really
but but
cool.
even if someone is literally shooting a griffin in front of them and everyone's reacting to it, you still will not be able to be 100% convinced that it's not AI. And
Right.
that's the reason why we were given this AI. Now, can we
Right.
use AI against them? Yes, we can. We can now use AI to our own
Yeah.
advantage
Yep.
against those people that are lying to us, right? Because if you're
Yep.
lying to me, you're not on my side, surely, right? So,
Yep.
so this is AI. AI is never going to be perfect. You're going to have to write many paragraphs to get it right. But this is what I
Yeah.
came up with in preparation for our chat. So I believe the 12 apostles are the Bible telling us exactly the same thing that the Tartarians did, exactly the same thing the Phoenicians did, the Etruscans. They all had the same circular device. Framur's map, the idea of a magnetic central black rock, the sun and the moon, that the sun and the moon are the same size because one is a reflection of the other, makes perfect sense. That we could look at the moon as a reflection of the entire realm, and if we put Jesus in the middle, and obviously there is a 13th animal too, which I found out recently. There is a 13th zodiac animal in the Chinese zodiac, which is the black cat, which is interesting because the
Oh,
black cat and the number 13 are considered to be bad luck in the West. So the
right. But they're
connections are
not.
absolutely amazing. The connections all the time. So the
Wow.
so if you compare this to the Babylonian calendar, you get Sagittarius. You get us looking at the Babylonian calendar as being the year of our birth, but we should be looking at it as being connected to the Tartarian calendar because that's where it came from. So Sagittarius, then you have, I mean, some of them are very easy. Like the ox is obviously Taurus, so some of them are easier than others to match up. But if you match
Yeah.
it up to the elements and then you match it up to the 12 apostles, you start to see how one was taken from the other, and we are actually being given the same message over and over again. What do you think of
Wow. That is
that?
amazing. That was,
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you for sharing
yeah,
that. Incredible.
yeah.
So, yeah, so the one we were talking about right before we started was that this is the year of, well, we're leaving the snake, the year of the snake in Chinese astrology, and we're going into the year of the fire horse. And so you were starting to talk about
Right.
what that signifies.
Yeah. Yes, there will be a lot of fires, but these will all be
Interesting.
generated fires in order to distract you, in order to make you think, oh, Year of the Fire is about fire. Year of the Fire horse is not about fire. It's a very
Mm.
rare year because the horse has to go through other cycles like water, earth, has to go through wood too. So it's not just once every 12 years. It's actually this is very interesting. It's actually once every I mean, you're talking about like 48 years, I guess. So we have no chance of getting to the truth with our calendar because we have had that month removed and we don't know anything about the actual zodiac. But if you
Mm.
want to get back to basics, you have to go back to the human body because that's where it really all came from. So you have to kind of use your intuition.
Yeah.
That's actually what the Chinese also did. And that's also what the Egyptians did too. In fact, that's what every empire did at the very outset of their own creation or their
They
own
always use their intuition.
creation, their own intuition. Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
So we're not doing anything that the ancients weren't doing because we already have the apparatus to do that. We have the human brain, which is the most powerful thing on Earth, the most powerful manifested thing
And
on
consciousness.
Earth. So our consciousness, yes. So we have all manifested this because we're all part of the same consciousness, like little broken splinters, like the idea of Osiris being buried in different parts of the earth. So so here we have the rib cage. Now, I don't know if you know how many ribs you have, but you actually have 12 on each side. So you have 12 hours of the day, 12 hours of the night, which means you have
Hmm.
24 ribs. Now, guess how many of your ribs are floating?
I don't know.
So it turns
Six?
out well, it turns out that seven are fixed to your 33 vertebrae backbone, which is your antenna. So you have
Okay.
7 days of the week, seven planets, seven chakras. So that's fixed. That is
Yeah.
the cage within which you cannot escape within this consciousness, right? So you
Mm.
have now this all comes from Egyptian hieroglyphs, which is also fascinating because they have a symbol for each one. So you have the seven gods, seven daughters, seven cups, right? So seven is such a crucial number for no other reason than because we are manifesting things through these seven ribs that are connected to the 33 vertebrae. And 33 is also a crucial number. That's the age Jesus was when he died, and you can
Right.
see all of this was drawn from us. It's all taken from us. Now you can compare this to architecture too, in in the Renaissance, especially like I found a building in Dresden that's also based on the human body. So the Egyptians used that. They have the Ankh, which is the womb. So they believe that was the portal through which life can enter a biological like.
The portal. Right.
According to the Chinese medicinal books, they actually use this even though it seems like a medicinal biological sort of guide. Uh, when people translate it, it seems more like religion. So I think that the problem is within the English language, we do separate religion from science. Um,
Hmm.
but it could be
Yep.
that that's a mistake, that we should be
Yes.
combining religion with science, and we should look at everything as one. Which is, I think, the big difference between just a like an Asian sort of mindset when it comes to problem
Yep.
solving. It's a group activity. It's never an individual.
Mhm.
And I think the individualistic way of the approach to this, wanting to decompartmentalize everything, could be the Western approach, more
Mhm.
of a Western approach. But it
Yeah.
could also be the evolution of like natural society, capitalism could be doing that to us as well. But apparently every spine has or every vertebrae has an important job to do. The 25th one is manifestation. That was quite interesting. Then we have the Kundalini, which is the 19th. So 19th is I think Janus, the king of doors, is the one and the nine. So some of them have definitely bled into modern like esoteric um uh teachings. And then you have divinity is number seven, which goes very much in line with the Bible, which is the idea that God is holiness, holiness is seven. Then vision number six, so that's also associated with like carbon and Lucifer, and 666 is connected to like some has been kind of taken from us, but it's actually I think it's electrons or something. It's connected to carbon. And then
Mm.
expression is number five. So we do count from like 0, 5, 10. So groundedness or completeness, decimal 10.
Mm. Right.
Yeah, so the first one is awareness. Are we conscious? Yeah. So that's
Right.
just amazing in itself, just looking at how each vertebrae has its own specific purpose in Chinese medicine.
That's
But the
amazing.
number 33 has been used a lot in yeah
But when
in
it says
this
the
as well.
principle of
So
33,
when I
what does
see
that
this, I
mean?
always think so. It's the combination of the both of the threes. You come up with the infinity number eight, which is time. So eight is infinity, right?
Hmm.
So they got this spot on. I mean, this is all I believe that we have been taking everything from these Tartarians, conquered them, relabeled them as Chinese, and basically just made this our own.
Interesting.
Now the Tartars too may have also taken this from somewhere else. Yeah, yeah.
When it says the
But it
principle of
all
the
comes from the
30,
human body, and that's the beauty of it. Like,
yes,
yeah. So this
that
has
is
obviously
amazing.
been adapted a little bit and translated. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it does say
Yeah.
principle of the 33rd, 23rd, 33rd, sorry, yeah. So maybe that's
Yeah.
the awakening, the
C7.
final awakening. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering what that meant and what the
yeah.
C7 signified. Is that a chord or what is
Yes,
that?
so I haven't looked into that. Yeah, I could
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I will try
interesting.
to find out for you. But I mean anyone who knows can help me out,
I'm gonna look into
any
this.
of
Yeah,
your listeners.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna, I
But
didn't
it's
even
all
know that
from the human
existed.
body. Every single
Yeah.
thing you can trace back from the courtyard of a castle to the symbolism on your cornflakes. Yeah, I think it's all being taken from our own consciousness.
Wow.
And I think that that's really I think because we're in God's image, so we're going to end up with that anyway, even if we are not intending
Mm,
to. We're going to end up with a golden
mm,
spiral because that's the way the human body has been made. But the problem is
mm.
sometimes we are told that there is this evil entity, Satan, right? And that some of it is bad and we shouldn't look into it. But I'm pretty sure we should look into absolutely everything. So here's
Yeah.
something interesting. This is Pentagon. Now the
Mm,
Pentagon or the rhombic dodecahedron is so important because uh, you're transitioning from a two-dimensional world to a three-dimensional world.
right.
Yeah. Now, but it's actually a six-sided shape,
Yeah.
and I believe that is how we manifest reality today. And just hold that thought because that is a bit.
Okay.
It's an extreme jump. But when you
Yeah.
look at this, you start,
Well,
and this only happens near the ocean, by the way. This only happens when we really disintegrate the realm and dig down into the very bedrock. We end up with these shapes. So I believe when we manifested a three-dimensional realm, it was initially a two-dimensional one. And in order to
mm,
get to the fourth dimension, we have to look at this Fibonacci sequence. So we have to go from one to one, and then from previous two numbers together to two, then adding the previous numbers together to get to three, which makes sense, right? One, two, three. And then we
yeah.
add the two and the three together to get five. So the number four has been the stumbling block to us. We think we're supposed to get to a fourth dimension.
Uh, mhm.
The number four is not the next dimension. The next dimension must be five.
Wow.
So I believe that if we look at three and two, we end up with five, and there is no number four. And in the Chinese, guess what number they don't have in the Chinese architecture?
4.
There is no four.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
wild.
that is not mind blowing. So I think what we're looking at here is hexagonal realm where we could go up to maybe an eighth dimension. I mean, we could keep going, and I think that's what the monks are
Mhm.
doing in these monasteries on top of these
Yeah.
mountains where there shouldn't be anything really. There shouldn't be any monastery, but it's just a
Hmm.
higher level of oxygen, higher consciousness.
Right.
But I found these all over the place. These hexagonal shapes that really are geometrical shapes, and they shouldn't exist in nature. And the fact that they do is, I think, so important
Well, isn't the
because
hexagonal
they're
shape,
all over the world.
aren't the bees honeycomb, aren't they hexagonal as well?
Yeah, the honeycomb. Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yep.
honeycomb symbolism shows another human being that you have ascended to that level of consciousness that you understand where we live. So it's a
Hmm.
threat and it's a warning. This is the honeycomb. If you don't know what it means, it's just a honeycomb. Well, that's interesting. That's pretty. Let's carry on with our day, right? But if you know what
Hmm.
it means, if you are ascended to that level, you're going to see honeycomb. Damn, they know how this realm was built and they know how to get to the next dimension, whether or not they ever have, or whether or not the person who owns the building is actually the ancestor of someone who understood and they themselves don't. That's not important. But yes, we have to wake up. This is the age to do that. And
Yeah.
I think it's very important. I think when you start seeing this all over the world, it was probably there before, but you just didn't notice. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
Oh
us we
yeah.
walk around, we don't notice, you see. And I think once
It's
you
not
notice, you will never forget this. Like once you've realized this, this will never leave you.
right. Oh, true. And
Because you're
and
not
it
learning
wasn't
anything, you're
pointed
just
out.
remembering something.
Exactly. It's all
Yeah.
remembering. And it wasn't pointed out to us. Like nobody wanted us to know this. So the fact that we're just
Oh no, they
stumbling
don't want
upon
you to
it
know.
on our
No way.
own is like
Yeah.
it's to me it's evidence that we're slowly coming to, because
Well, it's actually something much to me. It means that they have no right to rule us.
yeah, it's true. They took it
Can you see
upon
what I mean?
themselves. Yeah, they took it upon themselves to do it. Yep. It was
Yeah, I
never
mean they
meant to
locked
be
us
that
up,
way.
put us online, and we were given something to break
Yeah.
free. Yeah, they are not the gods. Yeah,
No. No, they just call
yeah,
themselves that.
but they want to be
Right.
the elites. They want to be the gods. You see.
Oh,
So
yeah,
no,
well,
I've
that's
seen
why
this everywhere now. I
yeah.
mean, I'm just looking for these
I
um
love that
er-
building, by the way. The last one you
these
showed, that was
hexagons.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is exactly what you see in a city or a country where there are people who have ascended and they're trying to lord it over you. But if you know what it is, how you're
Yeah.
not controlled by it now. You know.
What is that? Where is that at? Where's that located?
Oh, this is in Kaohsiung in Taiwan. It's called the Music Center. So it's all to do with frequency and sound. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
Beautiful building though, anyway. Just,
Mhm.
I mean, it's modern architecture, obviously. It's not ancient, but it's still, I mean, there's a lot to learn. And I think once we realize the buildings themselves are the libraries, not the books inside, that's the knowledge being communicated. So when you go to some ancient building and you're like, whoa, shame the Library of Alexandria burnt down, all of this. Well, it wasn't the books inside that were the important message. It's the actual architecture and the symbolism. And I think that's how we have to look at it. Because if you go to India and you see these buildings and you're like, why have I not seen this before? Well, people don't want to show you these.
No. No, the fascinating
Like in
thing with India,
architecture is probably one of the most.
yeah, the Indian
Hmm.
architecture with the prayer wheels and the long pillars that move and you can spin them, and um like all of those cathedrals and in, not even just in India, but in most of the Far East, they have all of these temples that are
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, you had this building in
Where is that?
behind me. You had this. I think it's Denver. Some yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's
Okay.
crazy.
That's in
The
America.
buildings you had in America.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I can't get over that. I've been going on with that for years. The architecture
Yeah.
that used to exist in America that was sold as temporary world fairs when it was actually
Right.
ancient granite, concrete, basalt, ancient concrete,
Yeah.
you know.
And then they had to take them down, and they didn't do it with fire. They just called it fire, but what they had to use
They
to
use
take
TNT,
down
yeah.
these, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell they were blown apart. They were definitely not brought down with fire.
No, it's insane. It's insane how they kept saying, "Oh, TNT made the matter worse for all these the California fire." Like, of course,
Mhm.
what are you talking about? Yeah.
What
No, there's
about
just some
so people?
incredible places in America, like beautiful
Yeah.
buildings, Baroque architecture, ancient, like 14th century, and trams
Yeah.
and tramways, and like m more
Right,
beautiful than
absolutely.
Europe, like bigger than Europe.
And then they had the
Yeah.
underground pneumatic trains, the pneumatic things
Yeah.
all through the underground. What do you think that it's true that they used airships to like use direct energy weapons to take things down as well?
I'm not sure about energy weapons on airships. I haven't seen much proof of that. I've seen recently people talking about that. But when I started looking into airships, that was like many years ago, and there wasn't anything on uh, uh, Jews. They call them Jews.
Right.
But there wasn't any proof of that. Now, that doesn't mean that there weren't any. I just personally haven't seen anything that has kind of convinced me. I need at least two
Okay.
or three sources where I can confirm, oh, this is a real image. It's been cataloged and it's been like compared to others. Like with the World Fairs, I know they used airships to transport people to the World Fairs. I know they didn't have
Mm.
railways, but there probably were railways, but they hadn't excavated them yet. I know there were waterfalls being directed and water being pumped through radium engines through the archways of the actual some of the towers, like the Tower of Electricity, um, the Rainbow Tower it was called, or Tower of Colors, in Chicago. And St. Louis World Fair also had a very large fountain, and they say the water was pumped from maybe Niagara Falls, but that doesn't really make sense. And then there are some
Mm.
very similar structures that look melted in the Grand Canyon. So there are some things where
Yeah.
people have taken photos, and I have those saved. And St. Louis, I can prove there were airships, but I don't think they had any airships in World War One that where they were actually like burning buildings. They did have very
Okay.
large airships that no one talks about, where they had actual
Right.
airplanes inside the airships flying out,
Yeah.
like bipedal planes. So it was very advanced, and I don't know where the airships have gone. I think they're probably hiding those because
Okay.
in the past we all had airships, so anyone could have gone anywhere, right? You
Right.
could find out that actually Paris, Chicago was a day's journey, but these airships were really slow. So that supports a completely different map than the one we've been given, which is obviously wrong. I mean, I think most people know that the map of the world is not correct. Yeah.
Right. Well, and it
I
does
mean, they put a lot
explain.
more water and larger. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. There's so much
Mm.
of a difference geography wise in terms of what things looked like in the 1500s until up till now and what things have changed. But I think it does explain if we had airships, how there's much similarity between architecture and culture throughout the entire world because people were able to travel
Yeah.
like that. And like they
Yes,
lied
it's a
to us and
very,
said that we
yeah.
never had world travel before the 20th century, but that's not true.
No, we were, I mean, if you look at the maps, how accurate they were, even maps of
Yeah,
Australia in the
right.
1400s with koala bears drawn into the maps.
Yeah, Right.
obviously going there, and they already called it Australis. And then people are
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, Australia wasn't discovered until I think 18th century." But well, they
Right.
were already drawing koala bears that are native and only exist there. So when you look at the old maps, you know somehow they were traveling. And then
Yeah.
you have all kinds of theories, but nobody really embraces the airship theory. And but when you look at like Blackpool Tower in the UK, and you look at like Tokyo Tower, and you look at all these towers everywhere,
Mm.
uh, when you realize that even the Empire State Building was a mooring station for airships for refueling and
Yep.
putting passengers on, and
Yep.
that is great because then you realize, so how were they fueling if they went over the ocean? Well, they had large ships, so they had ships that were actually like had mooring masts. So the whole word, even to call it a mooring mast, is also
Yeah.
leaning to this Tartarian Moorish theory that there was a Moorish empire of black Native Americans that actually invented this technology, and in Europe they were worshipped. They were worshipped like deities. These Moorish people with the feathers, like Moritzburg, Castle of, and then you also have like Brunnen. Have you heard that? Have you heard about that? I think
No,
I
I don't
spoke
think
to you
so.
about that last time. So in Switzerland there is a very beautiful like fountain called the Brunnen.
Okay. Yeah. You were cutting up a bit, so I
So
wasn't hearing you.
Mohren means in German and Brunnen means fountain. So they still have those in Europe.
Right. I do remember
But
that
these are
now.
Native Americans. These are not Africans. These are Native Americans.
Mhm.
But then you also realize that Africa most likely was America anyway. So yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that
so
and a lot of
the,
the people were like
this
copper,
technology came
like
from the Moors.
right. And the Moors were some of them, the ones in America were more copper colored, copper skin tone. Is that correct?
Yeah. So you have the copper, and then you have the swarthy. Yeah. So the swarthy were the native European royals who arrived from probably Africa, because Spain and Africa is so close, must have been Africa. And then you also have the American Moors who probably start used ships and airships to get to Central Europe and to basically build up a culture of people that were still living, defecating on the street, and according to some of the images, you see people throwing sewage out of the windows. There's also old
Right.
European paintings, and people
Yeah.
really were kind of like all in these large sort of buffets, and they were just sleeping and eating and defecating as they were eating. And these paintings are still here. I mean, those are ancient paintings. They're priceless, right? So you're not going to destroy those. You're not going to lose that information. And you see
Right.
that, and you're like, no, that couldn't have happened. And there's like a dog biting a child, and the mother doesn't care because she's drunk, you know. And
Oh,
this was
wow.
these were people recording history at that time. Now they did have
Right.
buildings, but did they have that ancient architecture from at Atlantis? You know those stories of like Son. There was this great empire, even far superior empire to anything we have today, with flying cities and streets paved in gold and jewels everywhere and high frequencies and people living forever and then that was destroyed with the flood. But I think
Hmm.
all of that was far more recently, yeah, than we
Okay.
are told. But yeah, I mean,
And also,
it's good to theorize, but some of this stuff, if you go back too far, it gets very hard to
yeah,
connect
it
things
gets
as
muddy.
you go back further. Yeah,
And also,
yeah,
couldn't some
yeah.
things coexist at the same time, where there you might have had some people that were living very, very well in these castles, and other people that weren't living well and were living the way you just described in the painting. So you could have had both happening at once.
Yeah. Yes, you absolutely did. But when you look at paintings in like Portugal, it seems completely reversed to our modern day history. Which you feel like the white person, the Slavic people were the ones that were like sort of eating and defecating on the street and eating with the dogs. And then you have these people riding these horses, these equestrian, like Tartar horse kind of people with feathers and large hats who look like
Mm.
giants actually compared to the horses if you compare
Yeah,
the
yeah.
anatomy of a horse. Yeah, there's one picture in particular that I one painting because I think a lot of paintings are being hidden from us, to be honest with you. A lot of
Absolutely.
information. Yeah, so there is one really good image of the this king on a horse who is described as a Templar. And I'll show you this one. Can you see this?
Not yet. Oh, here it comes.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh, preparing. Here it comes. Yes.
Oh, it says
Wow.
navigate your words.
I can see it.
Okay. So this is not a pic photo. Sorry, this is a whiteboard. Okay.
Yeah, I see
So
it.
this one is called uh Chafariz, who is Chafariz Del Rey or Day Rey. So he is in the Alfalma district, which is like the really beautiful part of Lisbon. And we consider these archways to be like Roman nowadays, or they would say Roman architecture. But it's actually the King's Fountain in Lisbon, and it's a Dutch painting from 1570s. It says it's on the
Hmm.
small text underneath, and the King of Portugal is a black man.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's wearing the cross of the Order of Santiago, which is the from the 12th century. So they were pretty much ruling the world, I believe, or at least Spain and Portugal in the 12th century. And I think France was also part of the Moorish Empire, all the way up to Saint Poitiers, where there are also records of Mauritanian architecture, and they were called the Umayyad, and they arrived in the 7th century, and they'd already rebuilt uh, the yeah, he was actually, you can see a connection to Spain. It says national patron of Galicia and Spain, Santiago, Saint James the Greater. So these words, Saint James, Mark, Luke, and John, these all came by these Persians and Tartarian Moorish people. Yeah,
And
but if you look at the size of them, these
they were
people were
large.
giants.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wouldn't
And
have had a
compare them to the
chance, I don't
people,
think.
right. And the people in front of him are so much smaller in front of the horse. And you can, it makes
Yeah,
sense now
yeah,
because you see the archways everywhere that are so large, these doors that were really enormous. It makes more sense that there
yeah.
would be very tall people.
Yes, yeah. I mean, they were Muslims, so there's a interesting connection to the Middle East and all of that, all of all of those. But I don't know what modern day Muslims are in comparison to this period of time. Sometimes I do feel that things are misappropriated and information is forgotten. Like ancient
Yeah.
Buddhists are also very different to modern day Buddhists. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I think that this is an amazing painting. I mean, I have a lot of these, but this one is definitely shows you the difference here. But also the percentage of black people. If you look at the background, um,
Yes.
it just looks like an African city. It doesn't look like Europe. It doesn't look like Lisbon to me.
No, no, it's really interesting.
So I
And
think the
really,
Moors became part of the genetic code of Portugal.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
because they weren't
that
taking their
makes sense.
wives with them. These were not Vikings taking their wives to war. They found
Yeah.
women there. Yeah.
Well, and it makes sense because Spain and in Africa are so they're almost conjoined.
Yeah. People forget that sometimes that these are so close. These, I mean,
Yeah.
who made that, division? Who, because this is the problem with the Western
Mm,
mindset that we decompartmentalize everything into sections and people
right.
and, and we I think we draw borders that didn't exist back then.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Portugal didn't exist back then. There wasn't a Portugal. That's only like
Yeah.
what, 200 years old, 250 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite finds. But
Yeah.
I have
That's brilliant.
different images here. Um, anyway, it's not loading. It might take a while to load these. I might have shown you actually some of these before,
This
but
one, maybe.
we have rewritten history. Yeah, I think we
Yes.
did rewrite history to some extent. I think the Moors were replaced with animal heads and birds sometimes. Yeah, but
You don't really even hear about
yeah,
them in history, like even like in school. Like I don't remember really hearing too much about the Moors, just that they existed and that was it. Nothing too much
yeah.
about them, right? So yeah. And the Tartarians, never heard of them at all in school. And I didn't go to public
Yeah,
school. So
I think the wonderful thing about this, what gives me a lot of like motivation is the fact that there wasn't a Tartarian Empire in history books. And
yeah.
the fact that there wasn't, to some extent, shows you that our history has definitely been edited. Because if you go back far enough, you do start to find references to Tartarian ginseng, the Tartar cherry tree, the Tartarian acid that was used in the Tartar sauce,
Mm,
that they derived this from particular plants, like Tartar ester, was
interesting.
used. And I think the main one was nettles, so maybe there was a Tartarian nettle as well, because there is a
Hmm,
Tartar ester, so there should be a Tartar nettle. And then you find out that they were carrying nettles with them, the Moors. They were told to do this, to carry nettles with them, because it's such a high protein plant that
yeah.
you can just eat nettle and it can solve all kinds of health issues, fatigue. Yeah,
Yep.
so, but then you find out the link between the Roman soldiers doing the same thing as the Moors, and you start to think, well, has someone been taking the history again of one empire, putting onto the other, and then pretending
Yeah.
that these aqueducts were Rome when they were actually the
Right.
Moors? Because that's exactly what the Moors built. So yeah, it gets very
Yes.
scary because you end up having to second guess even things that you have built your own identity on, you know.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
sorry. So this building is actually Long Island, sorry, New York. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And it
And
was
what
removed,
what
yeah.
what was it before they removed it? What were they using it as? Do you know?
It was the Palace of Versailles, the Chateau on the Hill, it was called, 1916. But they had
Interesting.
so many different drawings of this at different times of the year. And then because it was so incredible, obviously the British would have blown this up. This is a real building. This is a building that existed,
Oh
but they
yeah.
tried to, in the end, they tried to say it never existed for a
Is that
while
is that a
until
drawing
people
or
found the photo.
is that an actual photograph or is that a drawing?
It looks like a photograph. I mean,
Okay.
I can't, I didn't draw it, and I'm not like an art historian, but
No, no, yeah.
there is a level of detail to this, and there's other paintings at different seasons, different vantage points,
Okay.
and it
Cool.
reminds me of the large column that used to be in Washington. There used to be a very big victory column, and people
Mm,
said that that never existed until they found out that people were painting it at different decades. Yeah.
yeah.
So then they say, oh, they were all trying to reawaken the concept of funding it one day. And come on, are you? What do you? How stupid do you think we are? You know. So,
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I don't know why they want to hide these things, but it's just there's too many there's too much we know now, you know?
yeah, yeah,
There and too many people have brought it forward and it's not fake. So
yeah.
yeah, it just seems like we went like when it started happening was the beginning of the 20th century is when they started getting rid of these buildings, right?
Yes, they really did start to. I think they got rid of buildings that we haven't even found yet that were probably even more impressive. Yeah,
Wow.
I
And
think
there's
the
no one
city.
left to remember them in person. Like no people left now.
Yeah,
That
I think New York was the real Troy. I think it had like massive walls. I think Wall Street was not built by the Dutch. I think They had incredible walls. I think it's a historic location. I think it's an ancient location. I think
Mm,
the millions of griffins and dragons and incredible architecture that we find there all had to have been built during the Depression because there just wasn't enough time otherwise. No, I don't. I think that we're talking about a complete reversal of history. I think Rome wasn't where Rome was. I think Rome was in America. Yeah, I think the Greeks are the Creeks. I think the Creek Indians. I think even the word Indian makes no sense anymore to me.
yeah.
How could Christopher Columbus have presumed that people he met on this discovery voyage were Indians when the term Indian was not used before the 1810s? Because
Mm,
India was never called India until the 1800s. It was
interesting.
called it was called Hindustan. The people were Hindus. There was no India. Nobody labeled India as Indian. So he couldn't have mistaken America for Indian. He was obviously
Interesting.
using that term because that term meant something completely different. And he was probably
Yeah.
right. He was probably meeting the his own ancestors, which is really what he was doing. He was trying to work for the King of Portugal, who ironically is one of the biggest Moorish empires in Europe. So the King of Portugal, he was working for him as a spy. If you look into it, many historians agree that Christopher Columbus was not working for the Spanish. He was a spy for the Portuguese, and he was a Moor himself, and that's why he was chosen. I think Christopher
Wow.
Columbus was chosen. The Columns or the Columns, who own Columbiana, who own modern day Colombia and the United States Colombia too. So you have the state and the country. I think this is one of the big Moorish lineages even today. And they may have white puppet CEOs and white puppet kings and but it's really still a Moorish, very much a Moorish empire. And they rule from the shadows. And you can do that now. You can do that
Mm,
very easily.
yeah.
You can have hidden islands all over the world. Yeah. I mean, there are unaccounted for islands, like thousands of them, all around Japan. People, fishermen keep bumping into. So it's
Yeah.
this whole island thing is a very negative thing because you know people use this for all kinds of terrible uh, crimes against humanity, basically on these
Yeah.
islands because they are removed from image from our maps. And it could be that in the end there is still some kind of Atlantis style empire that is just removed. And the Bermuda Triangle could be where one of these islands might be. And we're just told, oh, there's nothing there, you know.
Right.
But if we had airships, everyone would know, you see.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's interesting. Like the whole South Pacific area is nobody goes there. Nobody sees it. There's like a whole
Yeah.
area in the Pacific where there's a no fly zone. So how would you even
Yeah.
know what's there?
Well, I mean, they'll try to scare you. I mean, with Tartaria, around the 1500s, 16th century, they started to draw all kinds of terrible monsters to scare people off. So nobody would venture there and find these cities and these people and this awesome technology, right? Because they would
Right.
have started ruling us again, as they did, as the Moors did, the Moors did. So first it was just draw monsters, draw the most terrible monsters you can think of, like chickens with dragon tails and serpents, and yeah. I mean, I think
Mm.
some of them were real. I think Blemmies were real. I think Sinusfali dogmen were real. But
Yeah.
a lot of these were just to scare travelers off because we still had that freedom back then. And we have
Mm.
less freedom now. So now all you really have to
Right.
say is, oh, there's an anomaly there, or I mean, how would you stop people like looking in the Grand Canyon, right? When you know there's Egyptian like hieroglyphs
Well,
all over the
that
Grand Canyon.
now that there's drones, that's where they really have the problem because they
Yeah.
can't keep people from flying drones anywhere now. So that people
Yeah.
are discovering things. And that's how we rediscovered what was in the Grand Canyon because somebody was brave enough to fly their drone in
Yeah.
there and just show it to us like, oh, look, there's Egypt. Egypt is in
Yeah.
here.
Egypt is
Yeah,
there. How did
yeah,
Egypt get there?
yeah,
That's the question.
yeah.
And where are those like seven cities that are in the Bible where there's seven cities of gold? Well, they're in the Grand Canyon. I know they are. We know they are. Many people know they are.
Yeah,
So you can't remove that. You can hide that. You have to literally tell people they can't go there. It's the only way. There's too much stuff.
yeah,
But now and again, people find these little like fertility charms, these little eggs, the little marble eggs with hieroglyphs, and you find a lot of ancient stuff. And people are then told, okay, be quiet, don't talk about it. Here's a lot of money. You know,
yeah,
you've got to sign this, waiver or whatever. Like,
yeah,
because there's gag orders are the difference between us and finding out everything.
yeah.
You know, uh, yeah,
Well,
but
they can only
yes,
keep things quiet for so long because look what's happening now. Everything is coming out, you know,
yeah, absolutely
and
everything's coming out, and it's
and that's
coming out
what's
every
going on.
day. It's not
Yeah,
even, and it's social media more than anything.
yeah,
So yeah, yeah,
and it will even more. I mean I'm really looking forward to that, but it's coming out even more, and that's what I think the Fire Horse is about. The year of the
yeah.
Fire Horse is about
Well, this is
is
a crazy
everything being
year.
revealed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly 6,000 years since the beginning of the world, according to the zodiac. So, but we've
Interesting.
heard this before. We've heard this with the Aztec 2012, right? So
Right.
it's all manufactured. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't worry.
good. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
awesome.
thank you for sharing everything. I just I'm just so kind of flabbergasted by all of this information.
Yeah, yeah. This was all prepared for you. I haven't spoken on this before, so yeah,
Wow, thank you. I appreciate
cool.
it.
All right.
Yeah,
Sorry about the constant cutting out. You're gonna have to edit like four or
I
five different.
definitely I'm gonna definitely have to edit heavily,
There's gonna be different
unfortunately.
segments,
Yeah,
episodes. Yeah.
that's probably what I'll do. And I know that you'll do what you always do, which you make these really great little shorts that you put
Yeah,
on
I
your
love doing it. It's
Instagram.
fun. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing. Look, you're so good at that. Like the Instagram and the
yeah.
TikTok
Mm.
channel, like Charles Ross on Instagram and TikTok. Check him out. It's
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah, TikTok is nice because it's like this in between YouTube and Facebook. Because like
Yeah,
Instagram and Facebook is very short, right? Short
yeah,
attention span. But then YouTube is usually long, like an hour, 2 hours.
right,
But TikTok is great because you can actually explain something better in like 20, 30 minutes, I find. Yeah.
right,
Or 10, even 10 minutes. I mean, that's too long for Instagram, too short for YouTube. Yeah. So,
right. 10 minutes is the perfect, I think it's the perfect
is
little
it? Okay.
blurb. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose TikTok to begin with when I first went on it was because it was 10 minutes and that it would just cut you off if you
Yeah,
went too
yeah. 10
long.
minutes is a good, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad they've given you like 10 minutes because they found their niche, I think. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm really glad that you're on there because you put so much information out almost every day. I think, isn't it something new every day that you pretty much put on there?
Well, I find new things every day. So I mean,
Yeah.
I might have a day off now and again, but yeah, I find something new and it's kind of in order to remember more than anything.
Mm.
Because you can't remember everything, it's just our
Yeah.
brain doesn't have that ability. So yeah,
It
yeah,
is a lot. It's a lot. There's so much to learn. There's so much to that comes to us, like as
yeah.
content creators. We just
It's all
constantly,
external, I think. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, you're just like, oh, this is a great idea, and then you want to do it right now, and you just do
Yeah,
it, and it's exciting. It's just an exciting time to be alive, I think,
very
because
exciting. Yeah,
we could just create and make things happen in almost real time,
yeah. I
and
mean, yeah, like some old monastery, they would have been writing the same book with the same story for like years at a time, right?
wow,
So
yeah,
so we can do it quickly. Yeah, I mean, which is great because I think our brain is meant to fathom a lot more than we have been for sure. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. And then also we can communicate with so many more people at a time now, all at one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's important. The
Yeah,
communication as well. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's incredible. Well, thank you,
Cool.
and I'm so grateful for you coming on. So
Thank
appreciative,
you. Happy
and
happy Lunar New Year. Yeah.
happy Lunar New Year to you too.
Yeah.
And yes, thank you everyone for watching and check out Charles Ross on Instagram and TikTok. And are you also on YouTube?
Yeah, I have Teacher Charles TV on YouTube. Charles Formosa, I use it as a hashtag on everything. But yeah, I also have like Charles Ross Facebook and Instagram. Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Thank you. And yes, so we'll have Charles back, I hope, another time, and we'll do some more. And
Cool.
hopefully, yeah, until then, everybody have a great year, and
Have a
we'll see
wonderful
you.
year. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.